Perhaps you know this feeling. Something inside you is constantly trying to control life. You want to anticipate every move, prevent every possible disappointment, avoid every pain. It's as if you're tensing your shoulders internally, hoping that enough effort might hold back the inevitable. And yet, the harder you try, the more the essentials slip away. This silent, almost invisible struggle takes place within every human being, especially when we feel lost, when a chapter of our lives comes to an end, when a loved one passes away, or when the future suddenly loses its luster. We begin to cling because we are afraid. Afraid that life will take something from us, afraid that everything could collapse if we are not vigilant enough. And so the ego clings to memories, to plans, to expectations, even to things that no longer nourish us. Alan Watts once said that the need for control is the ego's most seductive illusion, and perhaps that's exactly what you're feeling. A silent, exhausting struggle that leaves you weary inside. It's the weariness of someone trying to hold on to the flow of life with their bare hands. And the harder you try, the stronger the feeling becomes that you're fighting against something invisible, something that was never truly within your power. Perhaps you're trying to hold on to a relationship that has long since changed. Perhaps you're clinging to an image of yourself that was meant to give you security but now only creates pressure. Or you're holding on to an outcome you want to force because you believe that only this one way can save you. The dilemma is universal. We yearn for freedom, yet we cling to chains. We desire peace, yet we refuse to relinquish control. We crave ease, yet we distrust life. And deep down inside, you know this clinging isn't a strength. It's a defense mechanism, born from pain and the desire to finally feel solid ground beneath your feet again. But while you're trying to protect yourself, you often block exactly what wants to come to you. As long as we fight, we cannot hear. As long as we cling, we cannot receive. And as long as we want to control everything, life stagnates. Not out of resistance, but out of respect, because life only moves where there is space. When we talk about letting go, it sounds to many like a purely emotional act, something you simply decide to do and then feel. But in reality, letting go is a profoundly biological, neurological, and energetic process. Your body, your nervous system, and even the electromagnetic field of your heart react to whether you fight or trust. Joe Dispenza explains that the human body doesn't distinguish between a real threat and a mental scenario. This means that whenever you try to control your life out of fear, a sense of inadequacy, or internal pressure, your nervous system believes you're in danger. Your body goes into survival mode. Shallow breathing, tense muscles, a faster heartbeat, and overactive mind. You're prepared for fight, flight, or freeze. In such a state, no clarity can arise. No intuition, no creativity, and above all, no connection to the field of possibilities that surrounds you. Bruce Lipton describes it this way. Your internal chemical state is like a language you use to address life. Fear says, I don't trust anything. Control says, I don't trust the flow. And the body responds precisely to these messages. When you let go, however, something remarkably simple yet profound happens. Your nervous system shifts from survival mode to a mode of presence and regeneration. Your breathing becomes softer, your chest opens, your thoughts slow down, your heart begins to settle into a coherent rhythm. Research shows that it is precisely in this state coherence that the brain and heart resonate in harmony. And in this harmony, access to intuition, clarity, and inner guidance arises. Alan Watts would say, life reveals itself when you stop trying to force it. And from the perspective of quantum physics, that's astonishingly accurate. Because the field doesn't react to what you want, but to the state from which you want it. A state of deficiency creates deficiency. A state of fear creates bottlenecks. A state of presence opens paths that were previously invisible. When you let go, you emit a different frequency. A frequency that says, I am ready to receive. I am ready to trust. I am ready to let opportunities find me. Letting go is not a retreat. It is a change in the electrical pattern, a change in the state of consciousness, a change in your relationship with yourself. It is the moment when you no longer try to control the universe, but begin to communicate with it. And that's exactly when life begins to move. Imagine for a moment a river, not an ordinary river, but one that has carved its path through valleys, rocks, and light for millennia. A river that doesn't rush, doesn't struggle, doesn't hesitate. It moves because movement is its nature. It changes its course because change is its truth. And it carries everything with it without clinging to anything. Alan Watts often said that we humans have forgotten that we ourselves are part of this river. Not observers, not owners, but flow, energy, movement. And yet we behave as if we could stop the direction of the water with sheer willpower. An old story tells of a man who went every morning to a small garden where he had planted a young plant. Fearing it was growing too slowly, he pulled a little on its stem each day. Naturally, the plant died. Not because it was weak, but because it couldn't grow as long as someone was trying to manipulate its growth rhythm. That's what holding on is. That's how control works. That's the constant pulling at life. We destroy what actually wants to come to us because we don't allow it to go its own way. Try to see yourself reflected in this story. Perhaps you're clinging to an outcome you want to force. Perhaps to a person who is blossoming but doesn't return to your grasp, or to a version of yourself that has long since become too confining. And then imagine the moment when you open your hands, the moment when you no longer swim against the current, the moment you realize the river knows its way and it knows yours. 2. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that true clarity doesn't arise from searching for answers, but from becoming still enough to receive them. A river doesn't flow because it knows where it's going. It flows because it simply is, and therein lies its beauty. Perhaps letting go is less about taking action and more about remembering. A reminder that life continues to unfold, whether we control it or not. A reminder that everything finds its place when we stop trying to hold on to it. A reminder that the river carries us especially when we least believe it, because the river of life never flows against us. Only sometimes do we flow against him. Letting go often sounds like a poetic ideal, beautiful but distant. But the truth is, letting go is something that begins in the body, not in the mind. The mind thinks about letting go, but the body holds on. Therefore, the path must lead into the body, into presence, into stillness, into what Eckhart Tolle calls inner space. Let us enter together into a simple yet powerful practice. A practice that is not forced, but happens naturally. Sit comfortably if you can. Place your hands loosely on your thighs, as if saying, I am ready to stop fighting. Slowly close your eyes. Breathe in, and feel the air rise and lift your chest. Breathe out, and let go of everything that isn't present now. Repeat this for 2 or 3 breaths. Without a goal, without haste, just breathe. Just be. Now imagine you are holding a small stone in your right hand. This stone represents everything you are holding on to. A fear, a memory, an expectation, a person, an outcome. Take a moment to feel what this stone means to you. You don't have to name it. Just feel it. Can you feel how tense your hand is? How does holding on to something manifest itself in the body? Now breathe in, and as you exhale, slowly open your hand. Observe inwardly how your fingers loosen, how your palm expands, how space arises. Perceive this opening not as a gesture, but as an inner state. That is letting go. Not an I must, but an I open. You might notice your chest expanding, your shoulders dropping, your breathing becoming calmer. Because the body understands what the mind often denies. Control is exhausting. Letting go is relief. Now imagine placing the stone you felt in part 3 on the bottom of the river. Don't throw it away. Don't suppress it. Just put it down. On the riverbed, where life transforms everything without you having to do anything. Take another breath. On-off. Feel the silence between breaths. Feel how your body softens. Say it inwardly in your own language. In your own rhythm, I let go so that life has room. Or, I trust the river. Or, simply, I'm opening up. It's not about things changing. Immediately, it's about changing yourself. From the inside out. Because letting go doesn't mean you lose control. Letting go means that you stop fighting against life. And, at that exact moment, life begins to flow back to you. When we begin to let go, truly let go, something happens that is neither dramatic nor loud. It is quiet, unobtrusive, almost imperceptible, and yet it changes everything. The world remains the same, but you encounter it differently. You become softer, clearer, calmer, not because your problems have disappeared, but because you have stopped fighting against them. Viktor Frankl wrote that man finds his deepest freedom, where he no longer clings to the outcome, but discovers within himself an attitude that no one can take away. This inner attitude is the essence of letting go, not pushing it away, not ignoring it, not giving up, but acknowledging that life is greater than our plans, and at the same time, more tender than we believe. When you let go, a space opens up, a space where you can feel again. A space where the essential is allowed to reveal itself. A space where life can touch you. Joe Dispenza would say, in this space, your frequency changes. You no longer radiate fear, but presence. No longer lack, but trust. And because the field always responds to the state of your inner world, things suddenly begin to fall into place. Not because you're controlling, but because you've stopped disrupting the flow. Alan Watts describes this phenomenon as a cosmic dance. The moment you stop trying to force the steps is precisely the moment the music leads you, and you realize the movement you were so desperately searching for was always there. You just couldn't hear it. Perhaps on a deep level, you sense that something inside you is now remembering. The journey was never the problem. The problem was the resistance. When you give up resistance, the path changes. Not because it becomes new, but because you become new in this new state. You realize that every letting go is also a coming home. Not to a place, but to yourself. To your essence. To that part of you that has always known that life works with you, not against you. Eckhart Tolle says that presence doesn't mean having understood everything, but being ready to turn the page of life without fear. And in this courage, in this new softness, in this surrender, the universe begins to support you. Not because you fight for it, but because you are in harmony. Because when you let go, everything finds its place. The people who are meant to stay, stay. The doors that are meant to open, do open. The paths that call to you appear as if by themselves. Letting go is not defeat. It is the most elegant form of trust. It is a silent acceptance of the flow of life and a deep bow to its wisdom. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will discover right here the truth that Alan Watts repeatedly put into words: when you stop fighting, life begins to carry you.